Have you ever wondered who is stronger, the sun or the wind? As whimsical as it may sound, this is not just a question for the idle mind. It is, in fact, the crux of a captivating tale that dates back centuries. A tale that brings to life two of nature's most formidable forces, the north wind and the sun, both equally magnificent, both equally powerful, yet so starkly different in their nature. The north wind, with his icy gusts and stormy temperament, the embodiment of brute strength, and the sun, radiant and warm, a symbol of gentle, persuasive power. They find themselves in a peculiar situation, a competition of sorts, each determined to prove their superiority over the other. A contest that is as intriguing as it is unexpected. And so, the north wind and the sun began their competition to prove who was stronger. The north wind, confident in its power, decided to go first. So began the contest that would determine whether the north wind or the sun was stronger. Neither element was willing to back down. Their pride was at stake. The north wind, a formidable force, was known for its icy blasts and relentless gusts. It was a symbol of raw power, unyielding and unforgiving. It was the north wind's turn to prove its mettle, to show that it could make a man remove his coat using nothing but its brisk, biting gales. As the north wind took its turn, it started with a gentle breeze, hoping that the man would simply shrug off his coat. But the man only pulled his coat closer, bracing himself against the wind's icy fingers. Undeterred, the north wind blew harder, transforming its breeze into a gust, whipping through the trees and howling across the landscape. The man, however, only tightened his grip on his coat, his knuckles turning white from the effort. The harsher the wind blew, the tighter the man held onto his coat. It was as if every gust, every icy blast, only served to make the man more determined to keep his coat on. The north wind, growing frustrated, summoned all its might. It roared across the land, pulling at the man's coat with all its might. The air was filled with an icy fury, the landscape transformed into a tempestuous scene. The wind's power was on full display, its gusts relentless and its cold, biting. But the man, he remained undeterred. He clung to his coat, wrapping it tighter around himself. The north wind's efforts, as powerful as they were, only served to make the man hold on to his coat more firmly. Despite his best efforts, the north wind couldn't make the man remove his coat. It was a humbling realization for the north wind. Its power, as formidable as it was, had failed to achieve what it had set out to do. The man's coat remained firmly in place, a testament to the north wind's unsuccessful attempt. Now it was the sun's turn to show its strength. And so, the sun began its demonstration, not with a show of force, but with a gentle and unassuming warmth. It didn't boast or bluster, but instead it simply shone, slowly increasing its radiance, its heat gradually spreading across the land. As the sun's light grew brighter, so too did the temperature rise. The air filled with a soft, enveloping warmth, a stark contrast to the harsh, bitter cold that the north wind had brought. This was the sun's strength, not in forceful gusts, but in a gentle and steady warmth that reached every corner, every nook and cranny, every single spot under its vast sky. The man, who was the subject of this contest between the north wind and the sun, began to feel this change in the atmosphere. The chill in his bones started to fade, replaced by a comforting warmth that seeped into his skin. He started to sweat, a bead of perspiration trickling down his forehead, a sign of the sun's increasing heat. Gradually, the man felt too hot in his heavy coat. He loosened the buttons, trying to let in some cool air, but it was not enough. The sun's warmth was persistent, it was constant, it was patient. It didn't force the man, it didn't try to rip the coat off him like the north wind had attempted. No, the sun simply made the man feel too hot in his coat, too uncomfortable to keep it on. And so eventually, the man did what the north wind had tried and failed to make him do. He took off his coat. He did it voluntarily, without any force, without any struggle. He removed his coat because he wanted to, because it was too hot to keep it on. That was the sun's victory, achieved not through force but through gentle persuasion. With a gentle warmth, the sun had succeeded where the north wind had failed. The north wind watched in disbelief as the man removed his coat. He could hardly believe his eyes. He had blown with all his might, huffed and puffed with all his power, and yet the man had only clung tighter to his coat. But now, under the gentle warmth of the sun, he was willingly stripping off his protective layer. The north wind was flabbergasted, his icy gusts of air quieting down to a mere breeze. The sun, on the other hand, gleamed brighter with a sense of triumph. He had done what the north wind had failed to do, and he had done so without any force or violence. The sun had simply shone with his usual warmth and radiance, and the man had responded. There was a quiet satisfaction in the sun's glow, a silent yet powerful declaration of his victory. The north wind, once proud and arrogant, stared at the scene before him. He had always believed in his power, in the force of his gales. He thought that might was right, that the stronger one was always the winner. But this was a revelation. The man was not forced, he was not bullied. He was simply persuaded by the gentle warmth, the comforting radiance of the sun. The power of gentleness over force, the power of persuasion over coercion, the power of warmth over cold. The north wind realized it all. He felt a strange sense of humility washing over him, a sense of understanding. He was not defeated. He was not humiliated. Instead, he was enlightened. He was educated. The north wind had learned a valuable lesson that day, a lesson he would carry with him forever. The sun, now standing high and mighty in the sky, watched as the man walked away, his coat draped over his arm. The day was warm, the air was pleasant, and the sun was victorious. And so the sun was declared the stronger of the two. The north wind had conceded, not to the sun's strength, but to his warmth, his gentleness, his persuasive power. The verdict was clear, the lesson was learned, the story was told. And in the end, it was the sun who shone the brightest. But what does this story tell us? As we reflect on the tale of the north wind and the sun, we find a profound message hidden within the simplicity of its narrative. The story, as you remember, unfolds with the north wind and the sun engaged in a friendly competition, each aiming to prove their superior strength by making a passing traveler remove his cloak. The north wind, brimming with raw power and bluster, attempted first. He summoned his strength, blew harsh and cold gales, hoping to rip the cloak off the man. But the more he huffed and puffed, the tighter the traveler clung to his cloak. The north wind's force only led to resistance. Then came the sun's turn. Unlike the north wind, the sun didn't rely on brute force. Instead, it gently warmed the day, making the traveler feel comfortable, relaxed. In the soothing warmth, the man willingly took off his cloak, not out of compulsion, but out of choice. This story, as simple as it may seem, carries a powerful lesson. It teaches us about the effectiveness of persuasion and kindness over force and intimidation. The north wind represents force, an approach that often leads to resistance and opposition. On the other hand, the sun symbolizes persuasion and kindness, approaches that open hearts and minds. The moral of the story is about understanding the true essence of strength. Real strength isn't about overpowering or dominating others. It's about using one's abilities in a wise and kind manner to create positive outcomes. This story reminds us that we can achieve more by being warm, gentle, and persuasive, rather than being harsh and forceful. It nudges us to remember that force might make people comply, but it's kindness and persuasion that win hearts. It's a lesson about the power of soft skills, like empathy, understanding, and patience, which often prove to be more effective than raw strength or power. In the end, it's not always the strongest who wins, but the one who uses their strength wisely.